You know what's wild? I really used to think healing meant having all the answers. Like, if I could just analyze it enough and control it perfectly, I could fix whatever was broken. But the real breakthrough, right, it happened the moment I stopped trying so hard and I just let the light in. So my name is Kara Strom. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a spiritual coach, an intuitive healer, and a former mechanical engineer who spent 10 years working in aerospace engineering. So if you've been following my light series and you have watched my videos on how light heals your soul and the spiritual science behind it, this is the story behind why I am so passionate about this work. So today I'm going to be sharing something deeply personal. And maybe you've already heard me talk about parts of my story in past videos, but if you haven't, I'm going to be talking about how light not only supported my spiritual awakening, but it completely accelerated it. And more importantly, what I wish I'd known when I was just starting this spiritual development journey. So if you are ready to hear how an engineer became a light worker, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and let's dive in. Okay, so picture this. For years, I'm working as a mechanical engineer on high-level aerospace projects. I know I may not look or sound like it, but I did. I had a 10-year career working on projects and technologies that I never imagined I'd work on. But nevertheless, I had the opportunity to work on weather satellite systems, military aircraft radars, R&D laser projects, and I even worked for the chief technologist for a bit. And although young at the time, I was really good at what I did. See, I lived in this world that required me to be precise, to always gather and analyze data, and to always have all the answers because I was working on multi-million-dollar technologies where failure was definitely not an option. And so for the first few years, I was actually pretty engaged, right? I learned, I grew, and I mastered this technical world. But then around year 5 or 6, when things started to stabilize and I really knew what I was doing, that's when it hit me, right? I began feeling numb inside. See, I was checking all the boxes, succeeding by every measure, but yet there was this growing ache. It was kind of like I was sleepwalking through my own life. You know, it's that feeling when you realize you're really good at something, but it's just not it. And so that was me every single day around that time. See, I had this deep knowing that I was supposed to be helping uplift humanity somehow, but I felt so numb and confused that I could not hear what that actually meant. And now here's what's interesting. See, I have been fascinated by spirituality and metaphysics my whole life. See, I grew up with a praying, psychic grandmother who always knew when a baby would be born in our family. And see, I had become obsessed with learning about hidden truths and the mysteries of life. Like I would question if there was an Atlantis. Did Lemuria exist? What does it mean to have psychic abilities? Was there more to Jesus' story? And I loved learning about how to connect with angels for divine guidance. See, I was constantly reading, researching, and diving deep into all of these mysteries. But here's the thing. I was approaching it all intellectually, like it was just another subject to master from my head. And see, I never actually sat down and meditated consistently, right? I never actually tried to quiet my mind and listen to what was underneath all that knowledge. Then I went through this devastating breakup right around the same time that this existential numbness was really hitting me hard. And that combination, it just cracked me wide open. And suddenly, all that spiritual knowledge I've been collecting felt empty. Like I knew all these concepts, but I could not hear my own inner guidance clearly enough to know what I was actually meant to do with my life on a daily basis. So that's when I heard the soul call, though I didn't realize that's what it was at the time. Well, something inside me said it's time to stop reading about this stuff and actually learn about how to access it. So I signed up for a meditation class. Not just to learn something new, because, I love learning, but to finally develop my spiritual gifts and learn how to quiet my mind so I could actually hear what I was meant to do. And see, sometimes that's exactly what our soul needs, to stop knowing and really to start listening. So as a quick side note, if any of this resonates with you and you are feeling lost on your journey like I once was, know that I am launching a soul alignment program to help you navigate exactly this. I'm going to be sharing more about this later, so stay tuned if you want to hear more. All right, now back to my story. So I'm sitting in this meditation class, right? And we're starting to learn about chakras, which are energy centers mainly located along the spine, in your hands, and in your feet. Although I'm told we have many more throughout the body. And honestly, at the time, it sounded fascinating, but pretty out there to my engineering brain. But then we did this visualization where you imagine light moving through your body, through each chakra, and then clearing stuck energy from each of them. And now I know how that sounds, right? Trust me, I was curious, but yet somewhat skeptical too. But when I actually tried it, something began shifting. See, I'm visualizing this golden light flowing through me, and all of a sudden, I began to feel this actual physical warmth, which in a sense was like a release. See, it's like a feeling where you've been holding your breath for years, and then you finally exhale. And here's where it gets interesting though. See, I had spent time working with lasers and actual light in my engineering work, right? Where I was able to understand how it behaves, how it carries information, and really how powerful it can be. But this was completely different, right? This wasn't light cutting through materials or transmitting data. This was light touching the parts of me that had been in the dark for so long, right? And in that moment, something just like it clicked, right? This was not just some nice visualization. Something real was happening. See, I found myself starting to sleep better because I wasn't as anxious, right? My dreams became vivid and more meaningful. Just like my grandmother always said what happened when I opened up. See, I began sensing things about people and situations that I'd never let myself notice before. And even before I could physically feel the energy work, I felt this deep peace. Not because my problems were solved, but really it was because I was finally listening to that part of me I had been ignoring my whole adult life. It was like this whole new world was opening up for me, and I was excited and I felt more aligned with myself than I had ever been. It was like light was filling up all these empty rooms inside of me, and I was finally coming home to gifts that had always been there, waiting for me to notice. But just to be clear, I want you to know that it did take months of consistent practice before I actually started feeling that physical warmth and release during the clearing and visualizations. And when it finally happened, that's when I knew this was real. See, after that first experience, everything started shifting, and I mean everything. See, my intuition just woke up. You know those gut feelings you get about people or situations? The ones we usually dismiss because we can't explain them logically. Trust me, I know, because I always used to think logically. Well, I started actually trusting those, and don't get me wrong, I was always good at reading people, but my intuition became even clearer. And see, those intuitive nudges, those signs and feelings, they were right. See, that anxiety I had carried around for years, like this big heavy backpack on my shoulders weighing me completely down, well, it started dissolving. And I also stopped rushing through life like I was constantly late for something. And I started trusting timing and trusting flow. And here's something beautiful. I really felt grounded for the first time in my life. Like not in a rigid controlling way, but rooted. Like I actually belonged in my own skin. And not to mention, my whole perspective shifted too. It was like I could see my situation from this expanded higher view. And you want to know what else? That breakup that felt like the end of the world, I started seeing how it was actually redirecting me toward something so much better. You know, it's that old saying, rejection is divine redirection. And the emptiness I felt at work, my soul was basically tapping me on the shoulder saying, hey, this is not your path. And see, the more I work with light, whether meditation, sitting in morning sunlight, or just imagining light around me, when I felt stressed or threatened, like as in, as for protection, the more alive I felt, the more energized I became. See, light wasn't just showing me the way forward. It was literally activating something inside of me that had been dormant my whole life. So if I could sit down with my past self, the one who felt so disconnected and lost, here's what I tell her. See, the light you're searching for in all the wrong places is already inside of you. You just forgot how to let it shine. And I know that might sound a little cheesy, but hear me out. See, that light I'm talking about is that part of you that knows when something really feels right or wrong before your brain catches up, right? It's that part that feels expansive and peaceful when you're in nature. And it's also that part that comes alive when you're doing what you love. See, you don't need to have it all figured out to start working with light. You don't need to understand exactly how it works. You just need to be willing to receive. So I'm going to share the 2 simple practices that completely changed my life. So the first one is the daily chocolate light clearing, right? This is where you're going to take 5 to 10 minutes in the morning before getting the day started, or perhaps doing it in the evening at the end of the day, or really whenever you feel called to practice. I encourage you to sit quietly and imagine a warm, golden or white light flowing through your entire body, moving through each energy center, starting from the base of your spine, and allowing the light to fill up, cleanse, and dissolve anything that's stuck, and allow it to activate what's dormant. Now, in the beginning, you might not have any awareness about whether or not it's working, meaning you might not notice any physical, emotional, or mental shifts throughout your body. But know that this is normal, and it may take some time to notice any shifts. Like for me, it took about 6 months to notice any change after consistent practice. But then again, I was only practicing when I went to meditation class once a week. So your experience may differ, but I definitely recommend just trusting the process. Okay, now on to the second practice that helped me. Morning light check-ins. So this is best done in natural sunlight outside, but you can also do this practice inside, which I do all the time, sitting in front of my well-lit window. So while sitting in the sunlight, so I encourage you to put your hand on your heart and ask, what do I need to know today? Or how can I align more fully with my soul's wisdom? And just wait for an answer. So here's the honest truth. I didn't get profound answers right away. Heck, sometimes I still don't. But something shifts when you start asking these questions and you create space to receive. See, you will find that your inner voice gets stronger with practice. It's like building any muscle, right? And so the more you practice, the more you will notice the difference and be able to discern between your soul's voice that is always connected to God's source and is the totality of all your incarnated experiences that has so much wisdom. And you will begin to notice between that voice and the voice of your egoic thinking mind, which is often the loudest and meanest. So this isn't really a story about me becoming someone completely different, right? It's really about remembering who I had always been underneath all the conditioning and expectations I picked up and learned from society, my parents, my family, and the environment around me. See, working with light didn't just change how I felt day to day. It changed the entire trajectory of my life, right? It gave me the courage to leave engineering and become a licensed psychotherapist and spiritual coach because I realized I was meant to help people remember their own light and align with their soul's wisdom. So I'm still working with energy today, just in a completely different way. And so at the Radiant Soul Code, which is my business, I help people connect with that infinite wisdom that lives in their heart and soul, and I help them better trust their inner guidance. And so your awakening journey is going to look different than mine. And that's exactly how it should be, right? Everybody's unique and has their own story and path to follow. But here's what I know for sure. You are light. You have always been light. And sometimes we just need permission to remember. So if you're in that space where everything feels uncertain, where you're questioning everything you thought you knew about yourself and your life, trust that. That questioning is your soul waking up. See, you're not lost, you're not broken, you're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be for your light to find you. So if this story resonated with you, I invite you to share it with someone who might need to hear it. And make sure you've watched my other videos in this series about the spiritual science of light. See, they're going to give you the complete picture. Before you go, I want you to know I created something special for you. It is a free 99 soul ritual blueprint that I put together. It consists of a few simple light practices you can start using today to begin reconnecting with your inner wisdom and accelerate your own awakening. Just go to the links below and grab it. And if you're feeling called to go deeper and you want step-by-step guidance and support to develop your spiritual gifts, learn to trust your inner guidance, heal and release emotional blocks through evidence-based therapeutic modalities that I use with my therapy clients every day. And if you want to know how to align with your soul's purpose like I did so long ago, I invite you to check out my 12-week soul alignment program. It is everything I wish I had when I was starting out on this journey and includes all the practices and tools and then some that helped me transform my life and align with my soul mission, which continues to unfold today. So if that sounds interesting, you can find all the details below. So with that said, keep shining, beautiful soul. The world needs your light more than you know, especially right now in these ever-changing times. So with that, take care and bye for now.